Welcome back, Nigeria. It is still Nigeria Decides today, the 18th day of the third month, which happens to be the gubernatorial election that's happening across Nigeria, particularly in about 28 states, and another election going on for the House of Assembly representative. I mean, the representatives who will be representing you and I from our various constituency. And we still have Richard Amua, security consultant, with us in the studio. But for now, we're going to go to Kayode, who was at grammar school, to take a report from his polling unit. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
This election could be described as a situation where we have more of voters apathy. But one thing that strikes us all is that Nigerians, Lagosians in particular, would prefer to have the person of their choice as their leader. Standing here in Ojodu Grammar School, we have spoken with a couple of people who have told us that the election has been peaceful and it has been free and fair. They have come out, not so much in their numbers, but they have come out to elect the person whom they want to be their leader for the next 4 years.
Well, looking at the whole thing, unlike on 25th of February, you look at people, we are scared to remain in polling unit to count their votes. I noticed that the voting process is more faster today than February 15th, February 25th, because that day we are struggling to locate our polling units because they move it from one direction to the other. And today we have already known the particular place we are going, so it's much easier to cast vote today. It didn't take me up to 5 minutes for me to go through the whole exercise and cast my vote. So today have been much easier, and I think that's why the crowd is not much today also, because people will cast their votes and go out of fear and intimidation. So.
Welcome back. That was Kayode from grammar school at the polling unit at grammar school. So, Richard, like we were saying, and you also heard the submission from the live polling unit center, and it says it's low turnout compared to just equating to what you said, that it was because they were low turnout.
Yeah.
But now, how do we help ourselves in going forward?
How do we help ourselves? I think, like I said again, we want to motivate ourselves. In a state like Lagos State, I think after this election, whoever that becomes the governor need to speak out, need to condemn this, those who are tribal bigots, those who are sentimental in terms of religion and where you come from. Thank you. So there's need to, for whoever that is governor to start the unification process again.
I think it will be all over again.
It's all over again, because seriously, it's wrong. I understand the fact that the leading party want to continue, and I also understand the fact again that the opposition.
You mean the incumbent party?
Yes, the incumbent party want to continue, and the opposition want to take over. So all those things we understand, but we should do it in a way that that will encourage people to do the right thing. Seriously, data. I call one or two of my friends, says, in some, because the incumbents is actually going around in some villages telling anybody not to come out and vote for opposition. So it's not just only in Lagos. Yeah, it's, we can say because it's Igbo Yoruba, kind of. But over there, they are the same. They speak the same language. Right now, the majority of them now say, you can't come out and vote for this party. If you come out, we know you. We come to and burn down you. It should stop. Like you and I, like we said here, these guys, when they're going to come for party, they're not going to invite you. You see, I made one analogy, and I want to do it here again. When Mr. Obasanjo was the president of this country, is there anything personally did for me, Richard Amua, apart from doing it for the country? That me and my family will go and fight. That's one. Number two, we have who again? Yar'Adua. Before, let us say.
Before Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan.
From South. I'm from South. Is there anything personal it did for me, Amua. You see, when people begin to realize that these people who are coming to power is to serve us and make our country good, not personal thing.
No personal interest.
I'm telling you, this thing will go.
It would increase.
I'm telling you, but we're making it look like it is us, Tiwani. No, our local. It is our own. Those are the things. We need to remove that mentality and say it is our own. Seriously, I'm joining politics. Not for anything. I told myself.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm joining politics. Come 2027.
Is this the first time you're putting out this breaking news?
Yes.
Oh wow, exceptional.
No. Seriously, the reason I just said after this election, I'm going to my town, my village, to go and register for my ward, and I want to start to make impact. And the impact as a journalist and a security consultant is to begin to, say it the way it is and lead properly. We don't need leader. All of us cannot sit back and say those who are not educated to continue to be our leaders. No. So some of us are to come and ask, okay, hey, Richard, you are getting, because I know that in Nigerian politics you're going to be getting close to your 60. So I think I'm approaching my 60 right now. So let me start doing something back in my village. So all of us, we need to sit up. There's a lot of educated Nigerians who are sitting back and waiting for all this stars to be the ones leading us. Honestly, we need to. So come 2020, that look is there. So you see, if
there's a characteristic.
Thank you. So for ladies, look at a lot of Nigerians think that being a member of House of Assembly, I need to come and do something in my constituency. No, it is for executive to go and do the borehole. It is the executive to come and do the electricity, to go and do the road. Not the member of House of Assembly. But our mentality here is, it must be that man who is representing us. So what has he done? How many machines has he bought? That's why I sit on sometimes. They say they are doing consequences something. They are buying grinding machine. They are buying tailor, what's it called? Machine for the sewing machine and all that stuff. I'm like, no.
As poverty alleviation.
That's the word. That's it. Which is very wrong. Unfortunately, the local government, who is supposed to be working with the people, because see, what we did today is supposed to be election back to the villages and all the grassroots. But hey, local government, is it working? Apart from, seriously, I've been to Delta recently, I've been to Anambra recently, I've been to Oka, I'm in Lagos. You see, apart from seeing the Ogun, I've been to Ogun, apart from the major roads in the city, go to rural area. For people who are living in Ikorodu right now, how many roads are actually built inside Ikorodu?
Connecting
roads. You understand? This is all. So those who are supposed to do that is supposed to be local government chairmen.
But they've not been empowered.
They've not been empowered
appropriately.
So there's a lot that is going on that I feel that Mr. Buhari have tried it so many times how to empower, even let the chairman, instead of moving the money straight to the governors, let's move governor home and move straight to local government. But they refuse.
Okay, so in totality, in this, in finalizing the topic for the day, what we're actually talking about now, how do you think INEC should better in 2027? Because I would say this is done already. So don't you? Whatever comes out of it, good or bad, we accept it. We remain Nigerians and we'll move forward in peace. But going into 2027, how do you think INEC should prepare using this as a yardstick?
Number one, I think INEC themselves need to be independent. I don't think they're independent enough. That's number one.
Even when the name says independent national.
Yes, I don't think they're independent enough. I've listened to a lot of what do you call it, world conference from all the observers. Everybody the whole knock was on INEC, and I hope they're going to go back wherever that's going to be the chairman. Because I'm not saying this man being because this is his second term. I'm not saying him being the chairman of INEC come 2027. So let's have somebody who is integrous, not just only him, but all the staff,
the branches around him,
the state, everywhere. Let them be independent. Honestly, you see, one problem I said, and we said it again off camera, was the fact that Nigeria's money, this money thing, now wala for us. I'm telling you, when everybody feels that, okay, I have enough, and this enough is okay for me. For example, you are here, You have a house you are paying for the next 10 years. You have your one paying for 15 years. I have the one I'm paying, my mortgage, and I'm making my little money here and there. And you have a car you are paying for, and you can. You see, when someone brings money to you, it will not be nothing. I listened to Ashiwaju, this president-elect, years back. What he was saying, as a young man, he was saying that one problem that is causing corruption in this country is that how do you expect a civil servant to go and buy a house for 50 million? Why don't you make a mortgage for him? I'm like, wow. So now it's on seat now.
Let's see this.
Let's see it happen now. Because I'm going to remind him. In fact, I have it on tape. No. I've heard him say, state security. There's so much. That was even. I'm not talking about the last 4 years. I'm talking about when he was the governor of Lagos State. It's all about having a state security where Lagos can have their own security, their police now. So see, going forward, I think we should have INEC that is sincere, INEC that will be we don't know whether you are black or white, what language you speak, what religion you belong to, who will just close his eye, just like the legal system, and do the right thing.
I think INEC should just be INEC.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Richard Amuwa, security consultant. It's been a wonderful time having to get your opinions about things happening around, and I sincerely hope that come 2027 we'll see you in the corridors of power announcing positive changes, because we will also remind you and we'll also play the tape.
That's right.
And we'll play the tape. All right, from everywhere you're watching us, we're going to be joined by Omobolanle Adeshuyi. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Up-to-date fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion? On IBrandTV, Brands and Fashion is tailored to fulfill all of your fashion needs. From the thrilling trend segment, which keeps you current on the changing faces of fashion, to the brand spotlight, which educates you on the fashion business, there is something for everyone. And there is always the ever-fun glitch portion to keep you wanting more. Catch the thrill, the glitz and the glamour on Brands and Fashion. It's something you definitely do not want to miss.
The ride just started. Trust me, we have more of interesting rides for you.
It's all happening here on Star Times Channel 143.
With over as the seams with possibilities, from the stock market to maritime, agriculture to telecommunications, power, ICT, and oil and gas, among other areas of the economy. No one does it better than those on IBrandTV.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studio here in Lagos.
Business Breakfast, showing on weekdays at this time.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning. Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics.
It is all politics.
Economy.
I am not a supporter of this government.
With the very best of equipment and studio spaces at the most affordable rates you can ever imagine. For further inquiries, call 081-8236-4120 or you can call 070-68-000-168 or visit our head office at number 12 Old Olowara Road, Ojodu Berger, Lagos.
Up-to-date fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion? On IBrandTV, brands and fashion is tailored to fulfill all of your fashion needs. From the thrilling trend segment, which keeps you current on the changing faces of fashion, to the brand spotlight, which educates you on the fashion business, there is something for everyone. And there is always the ever-fun glitch portion to keep you wanting more. Catch the thrill, the glitz and the glamour on brands and fashion. It's something you definitely do not want to miss.
The ride just started. Trust me, we have more of interesting rides for you.
It's all happening here on Star Times Channel 143.
With over 200 million people, Africa's largest economy has a story to tell. It's the story of an economy that has the ability to develop from a single-digit to double-digit GDP growth rate.
Lagos.
Business Breakfast, showing on weekdays at this time.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics.
It is all politics.
Need of a studio space or equipment for your projects? Then look no further. Need of a studio space or equipment for your projects? Then look no further. We got you covered. With the very best of equipment and studio spaces at the most affordable rates you can ever imagine. For further inquiries, call 081-8236-4120 or you can call 070-68-000-168 or visit our head office at number 12 Old Olowara Road, Ojodu Berger, Lagos.
most up-to-date fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion. On IBrandTV, brands and fashion is tailored to fulfill all of your fashion needs. From the thrilling trend segment, which keeps you current on the changing faces of fashion, to the brand spotlight, which educates you on the fashion business, there is something for everyone. And there is always the ever-fun glitch portion to keep you wanting more. Catch the thrill, the glitz and the glamour on brands and fashion. It's something you definitely do not want to miss.
The ride just started. Trust me, we have more of interesting rides for you.
It's all happening here on Star Times Channel 143.
For breaking news and updates on the 2023 elections, join IBrandTV live coverage of the elections for beat-by-beat actions with our correspondents across the nation, presenters and leads of quality guests on ground to capture the moment with depth and unbiased analysis. IBrandTV live coverage of the elections opens 8 a.m. Saturday and runs until the election results are announced. You too can be part of the process with the IBrandTV Eyewitness reporter by calling the studio lines or send your messages via our social media platforms or WhatsApp line. Nigeria Decides 2023 live coverage brought to you by IBrandTV, channel 143 on the Star Times network and all social media platforms. IBrandTV, business first.
Welcome back. It's still Nigeria Decides 2023, and like I said, this is the most anticipated and awaited election in the history of Nigeria, having to decide, knowing that we've gone through a postponement from the March 11th till today, the March 18th of the year 2023. Of course, we know that we've gotten different reports from all around Lagos and Nigeria, in particular, going around the 28 states that are voting at the moment, choosing their #1 leader to govern the state. And with us at this moment is Mr. Jide Ologun, who is a legal practitioner, to be shedding more light about the electoral process, about our safety and security apparatus, and the rule of law. Welcome on the show.
Thank you very much.
I hope you've
to be here.
I hope you've participated in this exercise.
I have exercised my civic franchise.
That's beautiful. So moving on to the topic that we have at hand, and I think that a lot of people are unpleased with the performance of INEC, considering the fact that we saw what happened in the presidential election on the 25th of February, and looking at what is happening today. What is your submission as regards INEC in entirety?
You see, it's relative. My opinion does not represent the true picture. Okay, let me start from there. There are allegations and counter-allegations, and that is why the election tribunals are there to attend to these complaints. But by virtue of Section 153 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, INEC is the legitimate umpire given the mandate to manage elections. And when they go through the processes and you are not satisfied, you can go to the tribunal. You see, and until we probably amend our constitution to give another body a parallel authority to checkmate INEC, we have to settle for that. You see, so to conduct the 1959 elections towards our political independence. And after that, in 1960, we had the Federal Electoral Commission, headed by Kofo Abayomi, who, you know, and that commission managed the 1964 and 1965 elections. And do you know, as far back as that 1964-1965, NCNC and AG complained about absence of credibility. 1983, by a military intervention, 1983, by a military intervention, eventually, headed by General Buhari, who is now our converted Democrat president. You see, so, and to the present dispensation, it started in 1998, the INEC we are talking about. And we've gone through some rounds, you see, and you expect that people will want to benchmark their expectations with performance. But may I give this caution that I have given myself? It's your words against mine. I sat down with an open mind to look at it. Okay, if I'm complaining that my presidential candidate was not given the mandate, then why should I accept my National Assembly candidate that also crossed through the same process? So why don't I? So when people began to call for cancellation of elections, you need to sit down and evaluate. And that's why it's difficult with the judiciary. You can shout out there, you can roll out allegations, but come, bring your facts, bring your evidence, bring your witnesses, bring your exhibits. And so far so good. From the deep evaluation we have done, there are allegations and counter allegations against all the major political parties.
I like the fact that you are a legal luminary, and so you would be able to shed more light when it comes to the legal process, especially with the judiciary in Nigeria. A lot of people, and you just mentioned it, that the court should be the arbiter, the highest arbiter, especially the Supreme Court, should be the highest arbiter of the law. But most times, when people go to the courts, do they get justice? That's the question. Because when you look at the fact that most times our elections aren't usually decided by the people, they're eventually decided by the court. And that's what we see happening right now, litigations following the presidential election. And we've seen cases where a lot of people are saying they do not even believe in the process. Where do Nigerians stand when it comes to deciding who wins the elections?
Brilliant question. But let me use a close precedent. In 2015, we had an election. An incumbent president was removed by virtue of the elections. While they were still counting the votes, he congratulated the president-elect. And he's still on record till today.
We know that's rare, and that's why all the accolades went to him.
Let me say this. The judiciary has no business if you don't come to the judiciary. It's demand and supply.
So how did we get to this point where we have to go to the judiciary to decide who takes the power, who takes the office?
Wonderful question. It is allowed constitutionally, fundamental human rights. So when you feel that you have been served injustice, you are entitled to pursuing justice.
But it has become the order of the day.
That is where we are today. It didn't happen with Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and Sunak in the UK. You see, so, and these are issues. But I believe we are growing our democracy. But if no one goes to the election tribunal, the justices will be enjoying their lunch and dinner with their family and be engaging the regular assignments that they have. So I think it has to do with the politicians, with the umpire managing elections, because obviously there were perceived issues that did not give credence to the exercise. And having said that, eventually what became prominent was the transfer of results to the IREV. Please calm down and realize we did not happen immediately for some reasons, because eventually, and INEC is saying, bring your own certified result from your polling units to compare with what we have on the IREV. And the IREV is, the material of INEC. You can have access to them, but primarily, it is an asset of INEC to serve as a data bank for these processes. And that is why we need to explain the role of the judiciary. Okay, now, governorship election was coming. Some parties constitutionally went to court to request for access to voting materials. And we keenly monitored. At a point in time when the noise was hot out there, INEC invited them, a team of legal luminaries that visited INEC, that come. If you want some of these things now, we make them available to you. And INEC also did not unanimously decide to reconfigure towards the governorship, and INEC sought the approval of the court. And that led to the postponement, so that there won't be any palliative configuration. And that is why we are experiencing some improvements today in terms of managing logistics.
Although there were talks that it is their usual practice to reconfigure the Beavers machine, because it has to go through some resetting so that, you know, the information on it is refreshed.
And if the court was not persuaded that the database will not be tampered with, they would not have granted it. You see, so INEC is on a slippery ground. And that's why I took the pain to take us to the history of elections in Nigeria. If Labour Party's candidate was declared winner, in fact, APC is asking to access voting materials. Labour Party is asking to access voting. PDP is asking to ask. I think it's NNPP that is, you know, really undecided yet. So it should have been either way. So we should be working towards a point in time when both the umpire and the politicians and the electorate, you know, begin to allow true credibility. And I think we are moving closer to that.
Okay.
For those of us who have taken the pain to evaluate the whole procedure, if Lagos State lost the presidential polls to Labour Party, something is going on in INEC.
Although Labour Party said that the figures were also manipulated.
Let them bring their... There were reports also that some people started manipulating, because a lot of pseudo INECs emerged online. But constitutionally, by virtue of Section 153 of the Nigerian Constitution 1990, it's only INEC. You know, when a football match is going on, some spectators may bring their whistles. But the whistles that will determine the match is held by the referee. And if after the match you are not satisfied, you may approach FIFA or the local organizing committee that, hey, and that is where we are now. And I'm speaking to electorates. We are all citizens. We want the best for this country. Now, unfortunately, some people have accumulated unnecessary enemies. For politicians who are exchanging handshake,
who are going
for
to
politicians who have crossed from one party to the other, who are embracing each other at the airport, who are congratulating each other. I mean,
which brings us to the issue of political ideology. In Nigeria, it's been said over time that there is that lack of ideology when it comes to parties. People cross carpet, you know, like they're changing their clothes. It's more like there are no distinct philosophies for different parties. And so most times it's usually a case of what serves my political interest. Most times that leads to, you know, people going into office because they just want to, you know, get their hands into the cookie jar and not really serve the people. How do we move from that kind of politics that determines or that fills the pockets of some set of people, as against putting people in office who are there to serve the people?
The journey has started, you know, and without any bias. If you have seen how some politicians have been jolted off their executive seats to begin to engage feedback from the people, you will know that Nigeria appears to be at the breaking point of a new curve. And what is this ideology we are talking about? Let me take us to China. China has two strong governance positions: deliberate and consistent national development, then a very strong social order. And by virtue of the synergy...
We still have trust in the judiciary system, knowing that some of our politicians or our leaders are quite defiant to the rule of law.
It's not the role of the judiciary to implement the laws. It's the role of the executive.
And when these executives themselves are quite defiant, is this defiancy I'm saying?
We just experimented it. We learned in social studies that there are three arms of government: separations of powers, checks and balances, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. And when recently states went to the Supreme Court, that by virtue of Section 232 of the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, is the court of first and final jurisdiction between states and federation on disputes. And we started to argue that CBN is not a party. You have to go to Federal High Court. But the Supreme Court, in her wisdom and considering the plight of the people and the danger our economy was exposed to, went ahead to assert her position as the highest court in the land since 1963. And it took the executive about 10 days to express through body language compliance. And that's the point we are making. So you don't blame judiciary for that. The justice of the Supreme Court will not go and grab the president.
Although there have been talks about the fact that even the judiciary isn't totally autonomous. They've been talking about getting autonomy, just the same way the local government have been asking for autonomy. And this has really affected the way they operate. And you know that saying that he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So most times when they have to go cap in hand to the executive to get funds, it leaves them no choice sometimes to dance to the tunes of those who pay them.
You know, that is the assignment for the legislative arm of government. We have been discussing the local government autonomy. The federal government is willing to give judicial autonomy, but what are the states' houses for assembly doing? How many of them are subscribing to it? Look at the child right. How many of them have subscribed to it?
23 states in Nigeria.
Exactly.
24.
And you see, having said that, it's still all about the National Assembly. If the National Assembly insists that this is what must be, and the three arms collaborate to implement, why not? But we still have issues of releasing the allocation to local government directly or going through the governor and things like that. You see, there are 109 senators, 360 House of Reps members in the National Assembly. And like I expressed earlier, the mandate in Section 4 of our Constitution is make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of Nigeria. And you can amend these laws. The Electoral Act got amended in the year 2022, introducing some fresh things.
Goals and ideas.
For example, if you look at Section 3, it says INEC must get the money for the elections a year ahead. Whether that was implemented, I don't know.
We don't feel the impact anyways.
You saw how we tested the fact that political appointees must resign if you are going to get active in seeking office at the primary level. We tested it. You know, you saw the attention given to the fiscally challenged, you know, different aspects of the law. We have tested, and we are still testing Section 47, talking about application of beavers. You see, then you go to Section 62, you know, so you look, these provisions are there, and you can always amend them. So I expect, for instance, that the 10th Assembly should look at the impact of monetary and fiscal policies on governance in Nigeria and look at whether CBN's autonomous goes to the extent of implementing a policy that can throw the economy into depression or not. And amend. What's the meaning of amendment? Let us improve on the quality of the laws that we have. So these are issues. And for this purpose, they are paid from taxpayers' money to be there, not just to dress fancifully and then blow siren.
Or to drive in bogus cars.
Exactly. And again, and that's why I'm looking at the role INEC has played. Have you noticed that majority of them, despite the wealth some of them have, are not returning to the chambers? So please, let's sit down and give INEC that space. This election has prompted a lot of surprises. That by the time we sit back, maybe in another 2 months' time,
and analyze,
with hindsight, you will know that indeed some great things are beginning to happen in
so
this
means
country.
you buy the idea.
Sorry, I would have to
some people.
interject your
Okay.
line of thought because at this point we're going to go on a quick break, and when we return, Jide Ologu is still here with Omobolanle Adesuyi and I. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics,
It is all politics.
economy,
I am not a supporter of this government.
sports,
Firpo for Rodrigo.
entertainment, health, relationships,
What makes you think I want to get married?
and lifestyle. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us as we spice up your day on IBrand Daybreak on Star Times, Channel 140.
Ahead of us at number 12, Old Olowara Road, Ojodu Berger, Lagos.
Do you want the most up-to-date fashion advice or an in-depth look at the world of fashion? On IBrandTV, Brands and Fashion is tailored to fulfill all of your fashion needs. From the thrilling trend segment, which keeps you current on the changing faces of fashion, to the brand spotlight, which educates you on the fashion business, there is something for everyone. And there is always the ever
Great. In the last 5 years, over 41.5 million micro, small and medium-sized firms, as well as about 17.4 million registered SMEs, have accounted for nearly 48% of the national GDP. This is the narrative of Nigeria's economy, which is bursting at the seams with possibilities. From the stock market to maritime, agriculture to telecommunications, power, ICT, and oil and gas, among other areas of the economy. No one does it better than also IBrandTV.
Hello and welcome. This is Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studio here in Lagos.
Business Breakfast, showing on weekdays at this time.
Good day to you wherever you're watching us from.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
When the day breaks on IBrandTV, we serve you with informative talks on politics,
It is all politics.
economy,
I am not a supporter of this government.
sports,
Firpo for Rodrigo.
entertainment, health, relationships,
What makes you think I want to get married?
and lifestyle. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Join us as we spice up your day.
is the ever-fun glitch portion to keep you wanting more. Catch the thrill, the glitz and the glamour on brands and fashion. It's something you definitely do not want to miss.
The ride just started. Trust me, we have more of interesting rides for you.
It's all happening here on
been overwhelming presence of security men and the lockdown. Yes, there's both the voter apathy, no doubt. However, I believe that there are many more people who want to come out to express their franchise, but the overwhelming presence of security men and the lockdown of the city. If I were not the governor, I'm not sure I would have been able to get to my polling unit. I mean, the lockdown is extreme, so I'm appealing that it be relaxed while, you know, the security adequate measures are taken to monitor and police people's activities, but not prevent people from getting to their polling units. Right now, people are being prevented or they're being deterred from going to vote.
Was that not based on the probably report or the apprehension that this
yes,
election will be violent?
We know. So we're saying there should be some balance. This is extreme.
All right. What are your expectations, sir?
You can see that it's a totally different mood today compared to what happened on February 25th. That was an aberration. Today, people will come out and express themselves based on the local issues, not national issues.
You are confident you will win your unit?
I'm the governor of Edo State.
Welcome back. It's still the Nigeria Decides. And of course, we just saw the executive governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, saying categorically that the security architecture around the state is quite overwhelming and the presence of security men calling it extreme. So I'm coming to Jide Ologun to say, what's your view about what the governor said in Edo State? Do you think it's about the security architecture, or do you think it's about some other fears that is alleged to rent the air?
You know, it's a reflection of a gap. They all form governments and should have consulted exhaustively to know the level of security interventions required. But when the environment has not been presented as being safe, then you call for this overwhelming intervention. And I challenge the politicians themselves, if you put together their statements towards elections and profile, I think sometimes they do more harm than good to create fear. There is nothing desperate about coming to serve the people, you know, and these are questions some of us are asking. What is, you are coming to serve? So why all
so much
this
apprehension
desperation and everything? I mean, we saw parliamentarians resigning in the UK. It's resigning to say, Boris, it's not what we promised, you know, and that disrespected the rule of law. You have breached the COVID-19 protocol, you know, and things like that. Those submitted to the rule of law in their environment. And when Boris saw the way they were resigning, and he realized he had to step aside, it was a reluctant thing. And given the mandate, she sat down before it, read through, and realized that
this is not for me.
I won't deliver on this. And she willingly stepped aside.
But I think this is something that a lot of our Nigerian leaders, politicians do not have. I don't see them coming out willingly to say, you know what, I think probably this ministry is greater than my effect or my efficiency. Let me go home to rest. They don't do it.
And
Why?
it's not just a Nigerian thing. It's an African thing.
Let's even narrow it down to
tight rulers who want to just be in office, pass it down to their next generation, and then they don't just think about the people that they're governing.
That is the consequences of not allowing national development. Being a parliamentarian in the UK does not give you any special privilege, in quotes, because the basic amenities are there. You see?
Functional.
You know what I mean? So, look at David Cameron. His position on Brexit did not fly. Simple thing like that. And the man resigned. That was his own way of protest. He saw himself that if I have failed to push my position through, then I do not belong to this office. And that is what it's about, service.
But are you looking at countries like China, which just held their elections, and we have Xi Jinping coming in for the third time after, 10 years of rule?
I told you the acceptance rating of Xi Jinping, it's above 90%. So let me say this. If there is good governance, you may not even know the name of your leader.
Just transitioning to good
if you
to
want
good.
to understand Nigeria, let's look at the agitations. What are we agitating for? Whether you are talking of Biafra, talking of Ariwa, talking of
Yoruba Nation.
what are we agitating for? That let there be justice, let there be equity. Let us have a taste of the enormous resources in this country. You see, when that is done, we have constant electricity from the second largest deposit of bitumen in the world that we have in Nigeria. Let's fix our roads. Let's blast some rocks between Okene and Okakoko in Ondo State, the capital of the world. That's my hometown. Let's fix the roads. Let students go to school. Let's restructure our budgeting. Put more on capital expenditure than recurrent expenditure. Let's prevent oil theft. Let's revive our refineries. Let's refine these products so that we retain at least 90% of the products we can get from these raw materials, rather than shipping them out at a huge cost, getting about 7% of the products and the remaining 93 remaining with the refining nations. So these are issues. And we love each other in this country. I have clients that are from Igbo extraction. I have from Hausa. I've been to Arochukwu.
But when it comes to elections, it's a different ballgame.
I think it's something that is
ethnicity,
orchestrated,
religion,
particularly to cross
the
divide.
electorate must not encourage it. I am not sentimental when it comes to attending to issues of governance. Like I said, I've been around Nigeria, Kaduna, Sokoto,
into that possibility of having the police take on the civil affairs, because that was complaining that the police were abusing power and all of that. And so all of this fear that it creates most times is usually due to the fact that we don't see the police carrying out the civil matters the way they should. And then we have the military men on the street causing that panic and fear and leading to voter apathy.
You know, we engage two provisions in our constitution. Section 14, subsection 2 says that the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And that starts from providing that security and welfare to key us into the motto of the country, which is unity, faith, peace, and progress. And you now go to section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999, as amended, that says that the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. So when you have police officers that are not operating within ethical expectations, there should be mechanism to deal with them. But in a situation where you will practically, or you may practically need to force your president to obey the rule of law, whether it's denied or not, you are sending a signal. If a father calls a young boy that go and buy me cigarettes and light it on the way. Then someday you must prepare.
Does that have a ripple effect on the security apparatus?
Absolutely. Do you know how much we spend on applying for visa, non-refundable funds, on a weekly basis, and where exactly we are approaching? I was doing a research on this election of 18. In 1950, I think the population of Kano was about 123,000. Today, it's between 6 million and 9 million. Lagos is over 20 million. That is why it qualifies to be a mega city. So what have we put in place? In fact, when we start discussing the police, you may be amazed that the history of police in Nigeria dates back to 1820. So we need to upscale. And basically, you need to be able to unite the people, build into them, and practice governance in a way that we earn their trust and patriotism to have a truly civil society. I think in Sweden, Sweden imports inmates from Norway to service their correctional facilities because they must provide jobs for their citizens through the correctional facilities. And if there are no people from Sweden to put in the correctional facility, you say, Norway, do you have some there? Bring them. We take care of them.
You know,
since the rate of crime low and everything. But in our environment, almost every action, you know, we engender aggression and everything. I've been advising people, even when you are greeting people now,
you have to be careful.
Please let your smile be broad so that it's not interpreted as you are coming to attack, because people are on edge.
Yeah,
so it's a holistic issue. We must breed a civil and friendly society in an atmosphere of fear. Look at what we left behind as far back as 1970, replaying itself now. Ethnic hatred. We are not even discussing hate speech now. We are talking about hate vote. It's a serious matter for government, and that's why they all must come together and ask some of the questions we are asking. What language does crude oil speak? What language does gold speak? Okay, the oil thieves that we have been reading about, are they from just one ethnic group? Are they not from all the ethnic groups? So who is deceiving who with religion and ethnicity? And that is why citizens must wake up. A lot of theories have been defied now. Muslim ticket has won. You know, so let's come together as a people and really look at what exactly are we entitled to. A wise man said, you don't get what you deserve in business, you get what you negotiate. So what should we be negotiating? And that is why, rather than getting bitter with one another, we should get better by mobilizing and collaborating to establish the culture of accountability. You must render account to us.
Yeah, I like the fact that you mentioned accountability, which will take us to the to wrap up this segment of the show. In talking about accountability, what do you think will be your advice for the incoming presidency? What should he work on first? I know there are stages to these things, but there should be a first foundational step which will build in the architecture design of a new Nigeria.
You know, he has promised to remove subsidy. You're talking about the president. And Ghana just did. And I read that Nigeria lost about $10 billion in 2022 to subsidy. Who are the guys behind this subsidy? Why can't our refineries work? You have to focus on education. He has promised. You focus on health. Basically, electricity is crucial, please.
To every business
any community that is in darkness is not ready to move forward. So these basic things. And why don't you just gather all the agitations? Then put them, what is this person asking for? If you have 4 children as a father, like I do, you have 4 generations.
Absolutely.
With different aspirations. What thrills Ifeloluwa may not appeal to Ibukunoluwa. So you need to understudy them. One of my daughters doesn't want to eat fish, but I know that there's a particular kind of fish that when she sees she will drop that, I don't eat fish. So it's about carrying people along. All the societies in the world are diversified, even when you speak the same language. But how do you manage conflict? How do you mobilize people in the direction of progress? I mean, you are going to New York City in the US and you get to the airport here, you don't choose the people you fly with. You are all put in an aircraft whether you like each other or not, you must be in that aircraft for 13 hours.
Except you don't want to make the trip.
Exactly. You cannot jump out in the air. So we need to understand governance. Governance is not about coming to office for luxury, like we experience here, all the brigani shouting, blowing siren up and down. No, fix our roads, let the ports function. Let me be able to renew my passport within 72 hours. Let these possibilities come. Let there be genuine ease of doing business.
And you know, before we wrap up, because I know we're really pressed for time, I would like us to touch on one issue, and that's the issue of Abuja citizens at the FCT who are clamoring for inclusion when it comes to voting and getting, you know, their vote count. And if you look at the Constitution, the section 299, 300 and 301 of the Constitution shows that when it comes to the governance for the FCT, it rests on the president and the federal government, and then the National Assembly should also oversee the assembly affairs or legislature affairs of the FCT. But the question is, when Lagos was the FCT, it had the trappings of a state, and so it had the dual positions of being the federal capital territory and also being a state. And the question the citizens are asking is, why can't Abuja maintain that dual, you know, position so that the citizens, the indigents there, can also exercise their franchise?
I've said it. Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999 as amended, says that the National Assembly shall make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of Nigeria. So let them gather the 10th Assembly. Listen to the people. Evaluate it. Do the impact assessment. And create a state if necessary. There was a time we had just 3 regions in Nigeria, South, West, North. At the time we had 12 states. At the time we had 19 states. Today we have 36. America has about 50 states. And things are functioning. So if that we make room for development, and it's not just a political game,
That's
to say,
caveat.
why not? What is the essence of governance? Enhancing the fortunes of the people. I did not attend the kind of schools my children are attending now, because life is dynamic. You see, when we were in school, we used to caustic to count 1, 2, 3, and you know, this agbaluma, when you eat it, you keep the seeds. And, you know, we use blackboard.
As against now, there's markable.
You know, in fact, right now, I visited somewhere recently and brought cocoa. This cocoa fruit. Your children do not know what, Daddy, what is this? Some of them don't know how pineapple grows. They just drink it. As you know, so life is dynamic. The National Assembly is not for show. It's not to come and display your barbariga and the number of wives